One of the biggest lies about surviving cancer is that when chemotherapy over and you survive, everything go back to normal. Everything back to square one, like how it was before. It really don't. And nobody just prepare you for the fact that it don't. Because beating cancer isn't just the end of a fight. It's the start of a whole new, completely different life that you have to start to live. Today I want to talk about normal things that were normal for me in the past, normal for normal people, but have become unpredictable, difficult, and dare I say it, impossible to do. And if you've been through this too, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So let me start with something simple, right? Energy. Before cancer, I could awake a whole night, get up the next day like normal, lie more hang out with my partners or even with family. You're just lying for the whole night and you get up like normal the next day. Now a normal day with proper sleep, I just still feel like a chuck at me sometime depending on how much I exert myself throughout the day. And it's not just being tired. It's not like you're just tired. It's like your body trying to recover from something that you can't see or can't understand. And I think that people don't realize that your body don't ever just go back to the baseline that it was at before. It always repairing, always compensating. And now energy is not just something that I have. Energy is something that I now have to manage. If I push hard today, I'm going to feel it for the rest of the week, depending on how hard I push and how much sleep I get. And sleep used to just be about rest. Now sleep is about repair. It's about survival. Because if I do get proper sleep, then everything else breaks down. The whole system just falls through. Another thing that changed is how my body reacts to certain environments. Environments that I used to love and enjoy. For instance, I used to love just being outside in the nighttime, you know? And we had this routine back in the day where we used to just hang out at somebody's house out in the road, just by the bridge, and enjoy the nightlife. The cool Caribbean breeze, the stars, the old talk, the shit talk, just reminiscing with your buddies. That used to be my peace. That was the place I used to go to just shut off everything else. Now if I try to do that same thing even remotely, like sit under a shed but outside, my body will completely shut down for the next week. Cold, sinus, stuffy nose, coughing, sneezing. It's like I just catch a cold from being outside in the night. One of the saddest part about that situation is the same thing that's happened to me when I go to the beach now. Even on the hottest days, sun blazing down, but I don't know if it's just something about the atmosphere and the sea breeze, and all my joints they just get filled with inflammation. I'm talking about down to my fingers. I just can't make a fist. By the next day, for the next week or two, same symptoms as if I went out in the night, in the open and exposed to the open air. So now the things that used to bring me peace, I had a limit or I can't do altogether. And living in the Caribbean on an island with beautiful beaches like Trinidad, growing up going to the beaches and that being a sense of relaxation and peace, and not being able to enjoy that anymore while living in Trinidad, that is a battle on its own. This one, it's very uncomfortable to talk about, but it's something that we had to talk about. Because it's something that's real. And because it happened to me, and more than likely, if you pass through chemo for more than 2 or 3 years, it's going to happen to you too. Bladder control is something that you don't think about as a young adult, a teenager, or as a healthy person. But now everywhere I go, I need to know 2 things. Where is the bathroom at the location that we heading to, our destination? We're going somewhere? Where the bathroom located? Like number 1 and number 2, no pun intended. I need to know along the route where I could stop off to use bathrooms in case I need to. Because when my body say go now, I learned the hard way, by force. It's not a suggestion anymore. Now without getting too in-depth into it and making this video too long, let me just give you a little story. I went to the University of the West Indies, a university which I never attended, to drop somebody there. Lost control of my bladder and couldn't make it to the washroom. I'm talking like 5 feet away. And in full view of everybody there. Remember that at university, I was about 22, 23 years at the time also. So prime university age. In the presence of everybody there, I pissed myself. I just wet my pants. Big man. And that does something to you mentally. It creates a sense of anxiety that I now live with, where anywhere I go in, I need to know how much places along the route I could stop if I need to. I need to know where the bathroom is in the destination where we're heading, because I know as soon as I reach there, I need to use it. So it's more like before cancer, it's a plan, a trip, a destination, a place to go. But now I plan a route and escape routes throughout that route. Now, when it comes to food, everybody just say, you survive cancer, you have to eat healthy now, right? Eat the proper foods and just eat where you need to and eat enough. But after chemo, it's not that simple. And take it from me, I am a certified specialist in fitness nutrition. I am telling you. After chemo, it's not that simple. There are a lot of foods that I love that I can't eat anymore. Granted, most of them are junk food and I'm not supposed to be eating them anyway. But there are foods that are actually good for me that I can't eat anymore. The things like ice cream and Skittles and candy and things, I understand that part. But it was even a surprise to my doctors that I cannot digest leafy greens. I cannot digest certain healthy foods that are supposed to be good for me, where I could get fiber, nutrients, micronutrients from. So now I have to outsource and look for fiber and micronutrients elsewhere. You know what it's like living in Trinidad and being unable to eat a mango without having a toilet close to you for the next couple of days? I mean, when I was growing up, I used to live on mangoes. We used to just sit down on our mango tree and just eat mangoes non-stop. Now you're telling me 2 slices of mango sending me in the toilet for a week. So right now my diet real limited. And when I say real limited, eggs, beef, some chicken, rice, potatoes, other ground provisions, and healthy fats, mostly from animal-based fats. So now after surviving cancer, it's not just about what healthy on paper. It's about what you could eat, what I could eat, what you could eat, digest and get the nutrients from. Now, this is a very serious part that people tend to ignore and don't pay no particular attention to, right? Work or your financial status after cancer. We ain't going to touch on the bills and the debt and money that you owe from the process of 4 years of chemotherapy. We ain't going to touch on that. We're talking about moving forward from here. I have had multiple jobs during my adult lifetime. I've worked at multiple gyms, both for the gym themselves as an employee and as an independent instructor, just training clients out of the gym. Most recently, for the last 5 years, I was working with my parents with the intention of taking over the family business. But my body doesn't allow for consistency anymore. What I mean by that? I start work, I get sick, I recover, go back to work, and the cycle continues and repeats itself. A business is run on consistency. The consistency of the output, the consistency of the employees that ensure the output. So I understand from a business perspective, from a business owner's perspective, from a manager's perspective, why they can't have somebody like me on staff who is unpredictable. They need employees that they could rely on. So eventually they get replaced, right? And it's not because you're lazy, it's not that you don't want to work or anything like that. You get replaced because you're not consistent enough and it's not over your own willpower or your own ability to plan your life. Is interruptions that you can't help. For instance, the last job I held as a trainer in a gym, I was promised my job would be there because after 2 months of working, I had to go for surgery to correct 4 ruptures to my lower intestines that I get during chemotherapy, right? So, you know the whole family story, it's a family, and when you come back, your job here for you, and we're rooting for you, and go and do your surgery and your job here. When I come back, somebody working. I come back in full uniform, ready to take my shift, somebody working. And while I might have been upset then, I understood. During that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month that I was off, they needed somebody to fill that place, and I couldn't fulfill that role. And even in my own business that I'm supposed to take over right now, we having constant debate with my doctor as to me not being healthy enough to be in a line of business that works with chemical to clean cars. To be under a vehicle, washing it and have the water on you 8 hours a day. You understand where I'm coming from? The financial aspect of it is something that people don't talk about, but it's a very big thing. Not only the bills that you have that backed up from the debt that you owe for the process of chemotherapy and surviving cancer, We're talking about moving forward from here and having a stable financial life. Now, the last thing I want to touch on, and this is probably the most important thing, the thing that stays with you the most, and in my perspective, from surviving cancer after 15 years, the thing that probably will never leave you is the mental side of it. I was 15 years old when I was diagnosed. 15 years old, barely young enough to be warded as a child, because 16 is the cutoff age, and my doctors pleaded my case to have me stay on as a child for my 4-year treatment. So I was the oldest one on the ward. In a ward with about 50 to 60 children at a time, all suffering from their own type of cancer. I was old enough to understand. So the things that I saw, the things that I heard, parents screaming, mothers crying, children begging not to die while they're taking their last breath, them things don't go away. That does stick with you for life. And you see people who didn't have the opportunity to have that experience, to stay in a place for 4 years and build relationship with parents and children, and to watch them lose their battle in such a dramatic way while you lying on the bed next to them wondering not only when it's your turn, but how best you could console that person. It does stay with you. So when your treatment ends and you finally come out of the hospital, that side of the torment, that side of the pain do end. I believe that is the time that pain does actually start to manifest itself in its full form. Because when you're by yourself, when the place get quiet, when you're in your solitude, especially in the night when you're trying to sleep, that is when you just feel like you're right back there. In that prison, in that hospital bed, listening to everything right around you. Like it's real, like it's happening right now. And that make night sad. That make sleep nearly impossible. Because while your body might be tired, your mind going, your mind fighting. So while these things are normal for most people, while these things might have been normal for me and others like me in the past, it's not really the case anymore. And I made this video not for sympathy. I'm not saying this so somebody could comment, oh, how bad. No, I'm saying this so that people could understand that surviving cancer doesn't put somebody back to the position they were before cancer. It don't mean that everything going back the way that it was. That person now have to start living a whole completely different life. They have to learn how to live that life like a baby, starting from fresh, understanding what they could eat, where they could go, what they could tolerate. It's a whole list of things that could go on and on. The things that you have to relearn how to do. In my case, because I had a stroke when I was 16, I even had to relearn how to walk and to write. I couldn't hold a pen. I couldn't sign my name. So surviving cancer didn't bring me back to who I was. It forced me to become somebody new. Somebody who I had to learn how to live as. And I want you to know that if you're on that journey too, you're not alone. I'm going to be putting out a lot more content like this to help other people in the position that I was in understand the things that they have to face and the reality of surviving cancer, not the sugar-coated bullshit that everybody does post up. So if you like this style of content and you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you like the video. I'm going to put out more videos like this. And leave a comment. Tell me what was the hardest thing that you ever had to come to terms with after surviving cancer. Or if you know somebody who had cancer, not you yourself, and you saw them struggling with one of these things that we talk about or something that we didn't talk about in this video, leave it in the comment. I'll make a video on it. Or we could talk through the process of what they had to go through. Among that is Jeremy, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Later.